exciting time of year. Exciting time of year. Dodgers are 2.5 back. Chasing a couple teams. That's not good. I don't want to tell you stuff you guys already know. What I want is you to call in. Tell me what you know. Tell me what I don't know. Tell me stuff that's not going to be on Sportsnet LA. I don't want to hear what the employees of the Dodgers are saying about baseball. I listen to that a lot and I enjoy it, but that's not what this is all about. So, call on in. There's a number, 664-5431. You can listen, and I guess I need to remember to point out right away that you're not watching this live, then don't call in. A lot of people say, hey man, I called in, but you're not watching it live. You can't call in. So I just want to get that out of the way before we talk baseball. Here I am. My name's Tom Wilson. Oh, that got out of whack. Look at that. And I want to talk a little baseball. Basically, there's people that call in, and you can listen to us talk about baseball and the Dodgers, or you can call in and talk about baseball and the Dodgers. So, all that said, Hollywood, you there, buddy?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
You ready to talk a little baseball?
And I just want to say, don't worry what time it is. Don't worry if it's live or not. Call that number you see on the screen anytime you feel like it.
He wants you to call and just not get an answer, because when that rings, it rings in the offices here, and it rings a lot. Actually, people call this number and they ask questions and say, "Can you talk about this on the show?" And sometimes that's where I get my ideas. So, hey, what's our record in series play?
18, 15, and 9.
18, 15, and 9.
Yeah.
That's not real good.
No. Especially because they're 2, 4, and 1 in their last 7 series.
Yeah.
That doesn't make for, sustainable success there. 2, 4, and 1.
No, that's not usually a good team. In fact, you can look at trends and stuff. People like to look at trends when things are going well, but when trends aren't going well, the Dodgers just swept San Diego. Good, you got to beat the bad teams, right? So
you're supposed to demolish those teams. Those teams aren't supposed to take you to 12 innings.
No.
You're supposed to be able to handle those teams and make sure everybody gets playing time in those games.
Padres swept the Cardinals. Padres swept the Cardinals in the series before, I think. Someone good. So I mean, we need to sweep them, and then so that's the right thing. One of the things we're going to do today, and there's a number. You can go ahead and call in, and if you're a couple people have texted me and said when's a good time to call in, and a good time to call in is whenever you see this on the screen.
Or now.
Or right now. Ring. All right.
Now's a pretty good time.
Yeah. So, all right. So, if you're sitting out there, a lot of Dodger fans, watch this show after the fact. There's people still saying.
We urge those people to call in as well.
Yeah. I'm going to just say. Well, let's just say something. Okay, I'm just going to say this.
How's your day going?
My day?
How's it going? Well, if they call in later, just call and ask me how my day is going. I wish my phone number's up there because I get lonely sometimes. You can call me anytime.
Hollywood wants to talk. He's chomping at the bit to talk a little baseball.
I am.
Or anything, but he'll talk about anything. So, what's the most important stat, Hollywood?
Wins.
Yeah, wins. They'll talk a lot about how wins are, how wins by a pitcher, it just don't matter. Wins. Why do you quote wins? Why are you talking about wins? That stat's ridiculous. Well, yeah, it is. I mean, I understand if you know a lot about stats, how you can measure things a little better. But when I look at a pitcher with a lot of wins, I feel like, hey, that's a pretty good pitcher. And then when I look at a team with a lot of wins at the end of the season, I say, hey, well, that's a pretty good team. And you know what? Every other stat fades away. So right now, the Dodgers, I think, are heading to maybe 8. I don't know what they're heading to. I'm going to say if they keep going at this pace, maybe they'll get 87 wins or something. They're going to have to get hot. But wins are the most important stat, and I think a lot of people need to just keep that in mind. And winning series is probably, for me, the second most important stat. And what are we in series play?
18, 15, and 9.
And that's not good. So let's just kind of fess up and say this team's going to have to get hot. And how often in the past, Hollywood, can you think of some teams? Who were not real good teams, but they got hot at the end of the season and ended up winning the World Series?
Not off the top of my head, maybe the Royals. The Royals. The Cardinals. The Cardinals won 84 games. 2013, I think it was.
I knew you'd think of something. You always do. Hold on. Someone's bothering us, calling us in the middle of our conversation. Talkin Blue Live.
Hey, Tom, what's going on? It's Brian.
Brian Robitaille.
What's going on?
Hey, man. Okay, so we've just been killing a little bit of time here. I had a little chat with Hollywood about what I'm going to ask you. We kind of got my question of the day. What's the most important stat, Brian?
The most important stat?
Yeah.
Wow. We talking how to judge individual player, I guess? Is that what you mean?
No, I'm just talking about baseball. You know, you got a real broad category baseball. What's the most important stat?
Well, that's a tough question. I'll put the caveat that I don't think I'm a firm believer that there's not one stat to judge a whole entire player on. But if you had to,
well, I'm not talking about necessarily a player. I'm just talking about in baseball statistics. So you're kind of honing in on a player. Is, you know, fine, we can have that conversation, but the most important stat in baseball is
the win, I guess, right?
Right. And that's kind of what I was talking with Hollywood about. I know it's kind of a silly question in a sense, but I have heard a lot of people talk stats and talk about wins being, for a pitcher, for instance, to say, why are you measuring a pitcher on wins? What's wrong with you? Well, I know there's other stats where you can measure pitchers, and they're probably a more effective way to measure them. But wins is if I see a pitcher with a lot of wins, I'm going to go out on a limb. I may be wrong 4% of the time, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's a good pitcher. And
yeah, I mean, it's definitely more of an outdated stat. I think it's more of a. I agree that at the end of the day, if a pitcher's winning games, that's more likely than not they're pitching good enough to get the win. So, but it's not always the case, obviously, right? So if you're evaluating a pitcher overall, that's not the first thing you would look for. But yeah, you don't want to discard it, I guess, all in all. That's definitely the win's the most important. But if you're evaluating a player, yeah, I don't think they should go away with it. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, I'll just go away with the pitcher wins. I think pitchers definitely still value their wins. You see them out there trying to get through 5 innings all the time and get kind of ticked off when they can't make it that far to earn the win, or, you know, if the offense doesn't come through and get them the win. I know they still value it. But as far as evaluating them, there's definitely other stats out there to look at. So.
And there are, and I guess my more macro point is that wins at the end of the season for a team are all that matter. And I can go back almost to most years and just come up with a slew of stats about why that team that won it all shouldn't have won it all, or why another team should have. So at the end of the day, you know, wins are the most important, and even I'm gonna you know, even with the pitcher, I just think, you know, all you gotta do is listen to Oral talk about, you know, that pitcher wants that win, and if it doesn't measure anything statistically, it measures the heart of a player, and which is, you know, you can't put a number on that, but it does matter. You would agree, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was my tangent to kind of get the ball rolling here. What do you want to talk about? What do you got in your mind?
Well, let's see. I don't know. I mean, it was a good series, I guess. I mean, we got to take it with a grain of salt. It was against the Padres, and it was, you know, before we go celebrating in the streets or anything, you know, got to pump the brakes a little bit. But it was good because you can never guarantee a win at the major league level against any team. But so it was good to sweep them at home. But at the end of the day, that was kind of expected. You know, they made up a couple games. That's good because it was definitely not looking good earlier in the week. that part was good. Yeah, I don't know. I did send something out earlier. If you follow me on Twitter, first of all, sorry, and then second of all, I put something out that was maybe a little negative, kind of these lineups that Dave Roberts is throwing out. I had a little bit of an objection with. I don't know what your feeling is on it, but getting into this last month of the year, uphill battle trying to chase two teams to win the division. I think you need to put your best foot forward every single day. I mean, obviously players still need rest days and all that, but these lineups, I just don't know. I mean, they have their, I have this article coming out that I'm examining the top 10 WAR players this year for the Dodgers, and I'll go ahead and spoil it. And the number one player is Max Muncy. He's been their best overall hitter all year, and he's just not getting he's on the bench every other game, it seems like, and against lefties, and he's been their best player. Even if you include Machado stats with Baltimore, he still has a higher OPS, a higher WRC. He leads the team in on-base percentage, home runs, slugging. I mean, I know he kind of went through a little downward slope there, had a little slump coming out of the All-Star break, but I mean, players are going to go through that. Everyone goes through that.
Yeah.
But every time I look at the lineup, he's sitting against a lefty, and I'm like, he's hitting lefties even better than righties, and I don't know what Dave Roberts is, and I've stuck up with Roberts a lot, with the bullpen decisions, and, it's kind of, it's not him, it's been on the players, with their rough patch for the most part, but these lineups are all on him, in my opinion, and I just don't understand. I know Kiki had some hits today, and that's great, but that doesn't mean, so did Ryu, Ryu had 2 hits too, that doesn't mean just one game. I mean, I just think you need to throw your best lineup out there, and I think Max Muncy is sitting too much, in my opinion.
Well, let me jump in here real quick. 2 things come to mind here. One is I want you to we get back to WAR. Well, let's just do that now. WAR is like a derivative in the stock market. I never did invest in anything that had a relationship to derivatives because I just didn't understand it. And I've always asked people about WAR, and I appreciate that there's value in it. In hockey, they have this stat called plus or minus, which is do you know that stat?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the fans who don't, it's while a player's on the ice, it's when a goal is scored. He gets a plus point, and when his team scores a goal, he gets a plus point, and when the opposing team scores a goal, he gets a minus point. And so at the end of the season, you can see how the goals were scored on his while he was on the ice. And so I'm wondering a little bit, based on your lineup thing, if it wouldn't be interesting to see a stat where you have a plus or minus for baseball players, and keep it real simple. Just tie it to wins. Just tie it to wins. I know it won't say everything, and I know it's going to lie a lot, right? But I think it's the kind of stat. If you did compile a lineup like that, would Muncy be out there? I mean, would who are the plus or minus guys on the Dodgers that you just? I agree 100% that there's a stability in a lineup is what the real winning teams do. So I'm with you on that. But what do you think about having a plus or minus rating? It's another stat. It kind of hurt things. I mean, if it gives you another metric to use, it would get tricky. And again, it's getting back to the whole no one stat is all encompassing, WAR included. But it would be tricky. If they played the Padres today, and Kiki was in the lineup two out of 3 games, or Taylor was in the lineup, let's say, or Barnes was even in the lineup. He's as a +2 all of a sudden, but then they go on the road and they play, let's say, the Cubs or something and lose to it. It would get kind of tricky as far as that goes. So it's getting back to the point with the consistent lineup, and look, the Dodgers have excelled the last couple of years based on their depth, and I understand that, and utilizing it is one thing. But it does get to the point where it could be, a good problem. People always talk about, it's a good problem to have, a good problem. Well, a good problem is still a problem. Is having too many girlfriends a good problem? See, I don't think that would be a problem. I mean, yeah, I guess it could be, depending on what kind of side effects that may have for you if you have too many girlfriends. I don't know.
Yeah. But I'm going to tell you that is a problem.
Or it's not a problem at all,
Hollywood says it is a problem. You know what? I want to jump to Hollywood. Hollywood, I'm going to ask Hollywood something here, Brian. I know you probably can't hear him real well, but I'm going to ask him something. Hollywood, you kind of know the league a little bit better than I do. When it comes to this lineup stability, let me just pick a team out of the blue. Okay, let's go with the Cubs. If you were to compare, like, how are the Cubs doing in terms of their like lineup stability? Do they do the same thing the Dodgers do?
The Cubs and the Dodgers right now, for me, kind of mirror each other. They both have too many players for not enough spots. Both teams, I think, have 10 players for 7 spots, and then both teams, I think, have like 4 guys that'll probably play every day. So that leaves 6 guys for 3 spots. So I believe that's going to eventually turn to some in-house animosity, because they're baseball players. They want to play baseball. And the players that have already been there, before Machado, before Dozier, the players who are already there were playing extremely well. And then Machado and Dozier show up, and now they start to lose playing time. I understand what Brian's talking about, Kike, but Kike wasn't playing that bad, and now he's not getting any playing time. Max Muncy was playing pretty well. Now he's delegated to the bench. So it's both those two teams, they don't have the stability, and I believe you're going to see short spurts of where those teams really excel. But you're also going to see, for the majority, where those teams struggle to be cohesive, if that makes any sense.
Well, do you know anything about, either one of you, I'll start with Hollywood, do you know anything about the Red Sox? Do they have a more stable lineup? Because they're not. I mean, they're 50 games over 500, by the way, which is just insane.
The Red Sox have a couple players that are versatile, but for the most part, they seem to have a stable lineup, stable batting spots in the batting order. JD's hitting 4th. Mookie Betts is hitting 1. They've recently added Ian Kinsler. But for the most part, they have a stable lineup. People know where they're playing when they show up to the ballpark. I wonder if that's, got them 90 wins. I don't know.
Brian, any thought?
Yeah, the Red Sox, going back to the Red Sox, they also have the DH to utilize, so that kind of gives them that extra spot. But yeah, they, like Hollywood was saying, they pretty much have a set lineup there, and maybe their personnel allows them to do that. Other than second base, well, now they shored that up with Kingsler, but they're every other position's pretty much set over there. But again, they utilize the DH and stuff, which so it gives them an extra position player. But yeah, just going back to the moving these players around, it is, I guess, a good problem to have, but I still think it could raise concerns with people not getting in a consistent groove. They're sitting every other game, and it's great when you have these players and these super utility guys, but you need to utilize them. They don't, I guess, necessarily have to play every other game just to, in my opinion, you got to put your best lineup out there. And again, these are not just little. I posted the splits for Kiki and Muncy and Taylor, and they're not even close. Again, Muncy's been their best player. Like, he's not just like this feel-a-good story that, he's Chris Taylor's year last year on steroids. He's even above last year's, surprise year from Taylor. I mean, he's got 30 bombs, and he's doing it all in less at-bats than everyone else. I mean, again, he's playing, not even every day. So I just think he needs to be out there. And he's not like he struggles against lefties, like you can maybe make the case Bellinger's numbers are a little lower or something. And I mean, he's killing lefties too. And Hernandez, even though he had good numbers against lefties last year, this year he's not. He's kind of like a boomer bust player. He'll get a hold of one every now and then. And I know he had 3 hits today, and that's great, but it's one game. If you look at his year's numbers, they're not good. They're not good. He has an OPS, I think, of below 300 against lefties. Same thing with Chris Taylor. He's not, Taylor's been, valuable because he plays across, all across the diamond, and, he's versatile and everything like that. But as far as offensive numbers, they're not there. And there's no reason to keep throwing these guys out there now that you have Dozier at second, you have enough players to make a stable lineup. The only maybe platoon that you might be able to argue is left field with Jock and Kemp. If Kemp keeps, Kemp took a downward slope here in the second half. So, but other than that, you can throw out a consistent lineup, I think, with the players they got.
All right. Well, then let me just interrupt you for one quick second to ask you a question. Then, okay, I got my trusty pen here, and I'm got my piece of paper, and I'm going to go ahead and Brian Robitaille. You're still Dodger Nation. Are you writing there still?
Yeah. I'm still over there. I'm still doing articles when I can over there. So.
Okay. Well, good. Well, that's where you can catch his articles over at Dodgers Nation, which is a great home for Dodger fans to kind of go check things out. But, okay, Brian, I got my pen. Let's go through your more likely to be everyday lineup, all right? Take your time with it, and then don't go into huge detail, but just kind of give me your thoughts on each guy as we go through it. You want to do that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
What do you got? Leading off.
Leading off, I mean, I think obviously it would depend on lefty and right, because there is people that should probably platoon, So, and the Dodgers don't have as, I guess, what normal.
Well, let's just do a fun exercise then. Let's say let's play in a game in the world of imagination where it wouldn't possibly be the case, but you don't know if it's going to be a lefty or righty pitcher. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Put your best lineup out there.
Yeah, my best lineup. So I would have to think about the actual order, but I'll just go by position. So Grandal behind the plate.
Hold on one second.
Hold on.
Let's say Pat Vendetti's pitching. Okay, so he throws right and left.
Yeah.
I would go with that.
Yeah. The rule is he has to declare what hand he's going to do. But yeah, I'll play along here.
All right. So Grandal catching.
Grandal catching, and our backup catcher situation is a mess, and that's what we could go a whole nother show just on that. But Grandal catching for sure. First base, I'm throwing Muncy out there, and I know he has some defensive struggles, and that's the one issue that you can highlight. But I think you can hide him at first. I guess if you could hide anyone, I mean that's probably a bad wording there, but I think his first base. I think his defense plays good enough to where his bat needs to be in the lineup. So I put Muncy at first. I got Dozier at second. Short, I have Machado. Third, you got Turner, and then the outfield is where you can kind of play around a little bit. But I think the way Bellinger's bounced back, I think I throw him in center, and I still think we put Puig in right, and that leaves left. So left field, you could, that's where the most options I think you have. You have Taylor, you have Kemp, you have Jock, and you have Kiki.
In the old days, you're building a lineup that in the old days it was very much like that. It would be like your core players, and it would be 7 or 8 guys. I mean, in '69 when I was in Chicago for a summer watching the Cubs, in '69 it was like 1 through 7. But always it seemed like left field or right field was that place where you would do your lefty righty right thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of what you're doing here. So go ahead then, and left field.
But yeah, like for me, I still think Kemp versus lefties and against righties. I think you can throw Jock out there, and that's and that's the leeway room I think you have. I think you always do have that one position where, maybe you do play matchups. You look at how they did against a particular pitcher. You see how their splits are. And I'd be fine with them doing that with left field, at least until Kemp, unless Kemp was to go on a tear like he did in the first half. And then he's obviously proven he could be an everyday player. But I want to have a problem with Jock getting some at bats versus righties. And same thing in center. Bellinger goes through, because he's had a couple prolonged slumps this year. So if he was going through one of those, you want to throw Taylor out there, okay, fine. But those are the players I think give the best shot offensively, give the Dodgers the best shot offensively to win the game day in and day out. And we've seen their struggles offensively. The bullpen has been bad. I mean, there's no getting around that. But their offense has really been bad too at times. And getting runners in from third base with less than 2 outs, fundamentals, and they'll explode. They'll have these games where they explode for 11 runs, but then the next game they'll score 1 or 2, and they'll go 0 for 16 with runners in scoring position. So it's kind of, it's almost like a boom or bust offense. So, I don't know. We can't say with any certainty it's because of these lineup changes that Roberts is doing or anything, but I think it does have an effect, and I just wish they would have a more consistent lineup and go with the guys that, pitcher, your best hitter being on the bench, like I said, on every other game. No other team would do that in their right mind, And I know Muncy's kind of come out of nowhere, but we're in August, almost September now, and the numbers still don't lie. He's been their best hitter in multiple categories. So that's just one thing that continues to bother me. I don't know about you guys, but.
Well, I think a couple things jump out at me. You're right about one thing for sure. Muncy went into that slide, right? It looked like you couldn't see the baseball. It was awful.
Yeah.
Most players not in his position, in other words, not being a guy with a big contract and not being a guy who they counted on at the beginning of the year and not being a guy that the front office has a lot invested in, they would have stuck with. And, man, they jumped ship on him like that, But, okay, so they did, and maybe that's what helped him kind of turn around and get back on the horse. But I look at your lineup here, and I see CT3 is the odd man out.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if you want to talk about it from the negative point, not the negative, but from a player negative point of view, it's like Chris Taylor, you're going to be coming off the bench
right.
in certain situations.
Right. And the thing with key piece last year, but he struggled. He struggled this year to be. I mean, it's not just his numbers are down, which they are. His OPS, I think, is 100% or 100 points lower than last year, and he leads the league in strikeouts. I mean, he has 150 plus strikeouts. He's just not been the same hitter. But the thing with Taylor is that he's so versatile that he can give these guys days off. So you're still going to have to rest players. You know, Turner's going to need a day. Dozier's going to need a day. He can go over a second. He can play the outfield. So I still think he'll get some at bats. But yeah, it's kind of the nature of the beast when you have this depth. Like I said, it's a good problem to have, I guess. But you know, you do have to make tough decisions. And right now, I think Taylor, just with the lack of production this year, would be the odd man out in a regular starting lineup. But I still think he would get enough at bats to stay relevant. But then you got Kiki too, and you know, these guys, they're role players though. But you know, maybe that's what they need to be. And you know, players that get maybe 1 or 2 starts a week, and then they come off the bench and, you know, pinch hit or do a double switch or something like that, and stop feeling the need to, oh, well, we have to get these guys at bats, we have to get them starts. Well, not really. You really don't have to.
Well, especially Brian, when it comes up to September, and even back in the I sound like an old man, but even back in the day, lineups tightened up in September. I mean, it really becomes about, you know, you don't get time off. No one gets time off in playoff baseball. You don't rest people in playoff baseball. It's like you're gonna
and that's I can see if they were exactly like you said, like last year at this time or when they're 10 games up.
Yes.
You want to mess around with lineups. Yeah, feel free. But when you're chasing 2 teams, you're still 2.5 back. Come, you know, creeping up on September. Then it's time to start playing your guys.
And my numbers are not close here, but about a week ago, I saw something like the Dodgers have played 127 games, and they've had 120 lineups, different lineups. So, which really goes to your point about if you believe in that sort of stability thing. I don't believe the Dodgers front office. I don't believe that's their philosophy. Or I don't think that the real hardcore metrics guys and analytics guys would care much about lineup stability. They would be much more about matchups and you know, doing the science of baseball.
I agree. I think they are. That's their philosophy. But then when you look at the numbers, then you figure they would go with the numbers. You know, if let's say Hernandez had better splits, you know, for some reason, like he was hitting lefties like he was last year, then you're like, okay, well, hey, he's hitting lefties. Go ahead and rest Muncy or put Bellinger on the bench, even though, you know, it goes in, you know, it's not the stable lineup you want. But the numbers aren't there to support that either. So unless they're just going on blind hope, or they think that, you know, he's going to magically turn it around and he's going to, you know, he's more of the player he was last year, even though he hasn't been, then I don't know what numbers they're looking at. So.
Well, they do go by the numbers. So you do think that if they're seeing what you're seeing, that they would definitely, you know, make an adjustment. You know, it used to be in the day the numbers could majorly be affected by a guy's contract. If there was a big, huge money guy, I think a while ago, well, I can't remember, but if there was a guy with a big, huge contract, and you know, he would be playing a long time. And it wouldn't matter what the statistics or the metrics were. It's like, hey, we're paying this guy for, you know, whatever, $4 or $5 million, and we're paying this guy $500,000, and so I want to get value out of my $4 million, and I have to prove that I made a good move giving him $4 million. And if he's sitting on the bench, I look like the fool because I just paid a bench guy $4 million. I don't see that as a problem with the Dodgers now. Mm-hmm. Do you? I don't think contracts are a factor at all in what's taking place, as far as, you know, guys playing or not.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but that does happen. All right. Well, unless you got something else, I'm gonna clear up the line, bud.
All right. No, sounds good. We'll be in touch again next time. So. Good series. So we'll.
Hey.
Hope it's the best going forward.
One last question for you. If the Dodgers don't make the playoffs, are you the type of fan that will still watch postseason baseball?
Yeah, I probably will turn on the, especially if they somehow get eliminated earlier, if they fall behind. It's a lot easier to get over, I guess, gradually than it would be like, let's say they lost in the NLCS, like, you know, a couple years ago, and they lost to the Cubs. Then it's still fresh in my mind, so we're watching the World Series right after is a little hard. Sometimes I'll just turn it off and don't want anything to do with it. So yeah, it all depends. But yeah, I'm sure I'll still tune into the games and watch it. It's going to be hard not to. But
right.
But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we don't have to worry about that. But it's definitely a possibility. So
I don't know, man. I think I could easily see this team catching fire. I could easily see this team catching fire. I could also easily see them facing really good quality pitching and just striking out 15 times a game. So
no, yeah, I can see either one too. That it's not a for sure thing. That's people want to think that just because they have 5 straight division titles, they're entitled to something, and they're not. They have to go out and earn it in play. So we'll see if they do it. It's going to be an interesting last month or so. So, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either way. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go on a run, but then at the same time, the way they've played and gone through some struggles, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them just miss it. So.
Yeah. All right, Brian Robitaille writes at Dodgers Nation. He puts out some really fun articles. I don't know why you apologized for being on Twitter earlier. You're fine on Twitter. But I'm gonna clear up the line. But do me a favor.
All right.
Let's touch bases soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.
All right, the line is open. The line is now open, and Brian had some great topics and great things to talk about. Kind of things that you don't. There's a kind of a theory I have here. Let's see. What happens here at Talkin Blue Live is you hear things you won't hear the employees of Dodger-owned Sportsnet LA talk about. You just won't, because they can't approach the audience, their audience, in certain ways. Be it that a negative way or maybe something harder to hear. Or they're always going to couch it and polish it. And on Dodger fan and on Talkin Blue Live, that's something we don't shoot for. We don't want to talk about what they're talking about, mainly because they're already talking about it. So, and along those lines, I want to say one thing. Joe Davis is doing a pretty good job. I think he's finding his legs as an announcer. But God, Joe, come here. Joe, I know you watch the show. Come here for a minute. I'll wait. Okay. You're 29 years old, maybe 30 now. You're a good-looking young man. You got the Dodgers announcing job. All right? That's got to fill you up with so much pride and so much joy. And I don't want to eliminate or do anything to keep you from feeling that. So it's very difficult for me to say this to you because I sound like I'm being a critic, and I'm not. I'm being a little bit critical. But you're 29, and you're going to get better, and you're going to learn whether I say anything or not. So maybe what I say here will have something to do with kind of helping you grow as an announcer, and maybe it won't. But there's a thing Vinny used to do and believe in that, and there are many different types of announcers, but there's one of the things I really appreciate, and I think you're capable of this, is when there's a moment in the game that is elation and the crowd's going nuts and the game is like the fireball that we always want it to be, and we're looking down on this field, and this dynamic, beautiful, wonderful thing is happening. That's probably the best time to not comment on what's taking place, and especially.
Hey,
go ahead.
Vin Scully used to say the best thing I could do in those big moments was say nothing.
Right.
Let the crowd emotion. And I jump in and say something here. That's ironic. But
yeah, what's wrong with you?
Ben used to say the best thing I could do for that moment is nothing.
Right. And the thing is, I don't want to get all negative on Joe Davis, because I know what it's like being 29, and I have no idea what he's going through in terms of his career, because he's at the top right now, and at a very young age. But I do want to impart this observation that I've made, and I think a lot of other Dodger fans have made this observation. It's not to pound on you at all, Joe, and I know you're listening, because I know you watch the show. I've heard. So I just want to say, Bud, you're doing a great job, but consider. Well, how did that go, Hollywood? What did Vinny say? The best thing
he would say, the best thing I can do in a huge moment is do nothing, say nothing. Let the moment carry itself.
Right.
The moment's so big and the crowd's going crazy. It's like, all I'm going to do is ruin the moment.
So what I'm going to do right now, just to kind of demonstrate that for a minute, Hollywood, is I've just taken the time to, the initiative, and I don't know what gives me the balls to think I can tell Joe Davis anything, but in this moment, I'm just going to sit and wait for a minute. Sit with it. I just told Joe Davis how to announce, which is insane. Joe's doing a great job. Just wanted to say I can't stop talking. I'm going to stop now. For a second.
The difference about this moment and the moment Ben's talking about is generally the moment Ben's talking about, the crowd's going crazy.
All right.
You know,
Okay.
this moment is just silence.
So there's a strike one. Isn't it? All right, that's enough of that. Hollywood, if the Dodgers don't make the playoffs, are you still going to watch October baseball? What type of fan are you? If your team doesn't make the playoffs, let me just rephrase it. If your team doesn't make the playoffs, will you still be the type of baseball fan that watches playoff baseball?
No. Not if they had a chance to make the playoffs. If they were good all year and then they lose it coming out, then no. If they were crappy all year, you know, they won 60 games, then yeah, I'm going to watch the playoffs because I expect nothing from them. But when you start expecting something from your team, that letdown is so rough that I know for myself, when they lost in the championship, I didn't watch the World Series. That's you know, I couldn't bring myself to watch the World Series when they lost in the National League Championship Series.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I understand the pain of after the pain. I'm the type of fan. I love baseball so much. I'd watch anybody play, and I would especially watch, like if the Giants and Cardinals were in the National League Championship. I would watch it like Satan. I would watch it like, oh, I hope everybody screws up. Is there any way? Is there any way that the building can just collapse? I'm kidding. I would not hope for something like that, or something where no team could win.
Yes, we're rooting for 0-0 ties.
Right. I'm rooting for 0-0. It's like kissing your sister, they say, a tie. So what else do I got? Most important stat.
I'll tell you, I got a question for you.
Oh, you do? All right, I'm ready.
All right, something I've been thinking about. Because now it's starting to look like the Dodgers are playing for a wild card spot, maybe. Is there any chance that Kershaw is not your wild card starter?
No.
If the Dodgers were to be the wild card team, and let's say they were the road team, let's say they're not the home team, let's say Colorado was the home team in this wild card scenario that's going on in my head, is Kershaw automatically your wild card game starter?
I hate to make this a short conversation, but I can answer this very simply. No. I mean, is he the wild card starter? That's your question?
Yeah. Do you have him start the wild card game?
Well, the answer is yes. It'll time out a little bit about how the season ends, right? But are you saying given the opportunity to pitch whoever you want? Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to say Kershaw starts the wild card game, and there's one reason he starts the wild card game, because Kershaw manages the team. He runs the team. Kershaw does what he wants. He's paid $35 million. He pulls the strings. If he tells anybody in that organization, I want to pitch, and he will want to pitch the wild card game. I guarantee it. He will definitely pitch the wild, and it has nothing to do with stats. It has nothing to do with numbers and who's best and who's ready to, blah blah blah. It'll have to do with if he wants to pitch it, and he does, he will pitch it because he manages the team. And if he says he wants to pitch it and they don't let him pitch it, they can say goodbye, because he'll go off his contract, and he will go to Houston probably, or Texas. But definitely the wild card team. Now, are you thinking more like statistically? What's your feeling on that, Hollywood?
Just because he doesn't have the best numbers, and he hasn't had the most success in Colorado. Forget about the numbers. He hasn't had the most success. Even though, you know what, I say that, but going back to your earlier point about what's the most important statistic, and we went back to wins, he's actually 9-4 in Colorado in his career, but every other number doesn't say he should be 9-4. But he is. He's 9-4.
But don't you have to take like it's like having an adjusted number for Colorado statistics, even especially as a hitter, but even as a pitcher, to say we can't really look at these numbers that he's putting up in Colorado and kind of use them and measure them how we normally do because let me put this up here. Because
yeah, absolutely, you should have adjusted numbers.
Like I feel like every player should have a steroid adjusted number for home runs, right? How many home runs would that player have hit were he doing steroids? It's called this SAJ, steroid adjusted numbers, and SAN. And so I think they calculated that Willie Stargell, if he was on steroids when he was playing, he would have hit 10,000 home runs.
It's a little low, but okay.
A little low. All right, here's the number, right here. 6645431. Call Hollywood, man. He's feeling down. I know Ron Cervenka's going to be calling in. Oh, he says they're down. He's doing an interview. Ron's downstairs waiting for an interview with Justin Turner, and he'll call. I'm just going to say, call when you're ready. Hollywood Wells.
Well, the reason I bring this up is because Kershaw's fastball isn't playing up like it was a couple of years ago, right? Kershaw's lost some life on his fastball.
Yep.
I'm not bringing anything new to the table over here.
No.
But Walker Buehler's fastball has all that young man's life on it, And what plays well in Colorado is a good, hard fastball.
That's right.
The breaking stuff doesn't play as well in Colorado.
Doesn't break.
You've seen a good, hard 96, 97, that plays well.
Yeah, let lighter air, but the ball doesn't build up in front of the ball. Curved balls don't break. Balls don't break. You're right. So, and they do move a little bit. They have more late velocity on them. But when they hit that catcher's glove in Colorado, they're still motoring. And some thick air places, ball leaves a hand at one speed, but when it hits a glove, it loses like five. I have the number here, but it loses speed. So, honestly, if I had to bet my life on, if the Dodgers were playing in Colorado, right, Hollywood, and someone said, hey, you pick the pitcher here, and if he loses, you're going to die. If he wins, whatever, I would definitely go with Buehler right now, just because I think he's coming into it, man. I've seen pitchers, Kershaw did this too. This kid's coming into it, and he's gonna be something special. And
I'm gonna go out on a limb, and Kershaw's my favorite player, but my second favorite pitcher of all time. I mean, I think the world of Kershaw.
Yeah, me too.
Greg Max is my all-time favorite pitcher. Kershaw's my second all-time favorite pitcher. I just love the way the guy pitches, love the way he competes. But I'm going to tell you what, if I'm the Dodgers organization, I'm not re-signing him for $35 million.
That's not
if he wants to walk, he wants to walk on that contract.
Yeah.
I'm allowing that to happen, man.
Oh, me too.
I'm not re-signing $35 million. I'm not giving him more than $20 million. And if I'm running the Dodgers, he probably wouldn't be back just because he's not going to pay $20 million. But
what do you mean? He's not going to pay $20 million. Who's not?
Kershaw wouldn't Kershaw wouldn't opt out of his current deal to take less money.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Mainly because he's got 2 years left of that deal too, so it's really $70 million.
Yes, but if he opts out because he wants to get a long-term, bigger contract, and I'm running the Dodgers, I'm not going to. After he opts out, I'm not giving him more money.
No, but what if he could go to Houston like Verlander, and maybe they'd put him on a little extra juice, so you give him some sort of extra supplement. I don't know if he would do that. He's a good Christian boy, but whatever, he might. And so they say, hey, you know what? We're gonna get you down here, and we're gonna give you 5 years at $200 million. That's $20 million a year. But that's 5 years.
That's $40 million a year.
I mean, okay, so then $100 million.
Okay.
Or 100, and even that's low. He wouldn't even take that because he's got 70 coming for 2 years. What am I thinking?
Yeah.
But in any event, I totally agree with you. I would not pay if he wants to walk, and you can not pay $70 million out for the next 2 years for a guy that's getting older, still kicking ass, still a great pitcher, still an ace, might be the best in baseball, still, but with some bumps in the road and with a kind of a recent history that's a little bit predictable. I mean, you got to say it's predictable. The guy's getting older. He's going to have, breakdown. I got a bad shoulder right now. I didn't even throw a baseball. So I mean, when you get older, the body does certain things. So that's
the history of injuries is starting to build up.
Yes, it's starting to build up. All right, so what do we got here? Oh, I want to get into this. Yeah, I'll get into it real quick, Hollywood. I want to hear what you have to think, what you think about this. Hopefully you can see these numbers to come up, but this is basically, fans always talk about, well, we led the league, we lead the league in attendance, and we have the most attendance, and I always used to think, well, yeah, but you're going to have more attendance than Milwaukee. You're going to have more attendance because, for instance, in LA, you're talking about drawing from 13 million people in a metro area. So you got attendance. Can you see this chart?
I can.
Is it big enough?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Dodgers draw 3,700,000, which is awesome. But they're drawing from a potential a pool of 13 million people, and so they have like a 28%, what they call a AMPF, which is a attendance to metro population factor. And then you look at the cut. But there's two cities in New York and LA, so maybe you got to double that. But hold on a minute. Talkin Blue Live.
Hi, this is Dodger Fan Weekly. Hold on, I'm getting Anna on the phone too.
Okay, hold on. Dodger Fan Weekly wants to say something. I'll come back to my chart.
Hi, guys.
Okay,
Hey.
Dodger Fan Weekly, the girls of Dodger Fan Weekly, who kind of put this show together and kind of helped put it out. Let's put it this way: this show wouldn't exist without them, and I don't think they take a lot of pride in it, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, so you speak loud because you're on a thing, and let's talk baseball for a second, you guys. What's up?
Well, we heard you talking about Kershaw, and we know that Dodger Fan Weekly had put that poll out, and there's a lot of emotion that goes with the Kershaw stuff, so it would be, tough to say goodbye. But anyway, we kind of, we went to the game today, so we were there and watched Ryu have a good start. Gave up a lot of hits, but saw some good situational hitting from Justin Turner. And I know it's San Diego, but that was encouraging.
Okay, well that's good. Now you guys put out a poll. I think I saw that poll where you say, if Kershaw left, you asked Dodger fans if Kershaw left, basically would they say thanks for the memories, or would they say traitor, that greedy traitor? And I think 80% of the which kind of shocked me. 80% of Dodger fans said if Kershaw left, because he wants to try to get more money and a better opportunity, or take his family to Texas, or whatever his reason is, they have every right in the world to leave, for Christ's sakes. Loyalty schmoyalty when it comes to that sort of thing.
Well, I guess he does.
So, but it was kind of interesting that 8 looked like 80% of the Dodger fans, over a couple hundred, answered that said that they would be grateful and they would be, thanks for the memories, and they wouldn't hold it against him, which just tells you people understand, that baseball's a business. But no one wants to see him go. Nobody, not a Dodger fan I've ever talked to or met, says, I want to see him go. It'd be awful if he left.
Well, we feel like he's ours. And nobody else's. It's just the way it is.
So you're coveting thy neighbor's pitcher? Is that what you're doing?
Yes. No, it's ours for now. No, of course we don't really want to see him go, but, also, there's a lot of people that think he chokes in the World Series and stuff,
Oh, blasphemy.
It is blasphemy.
I mean, he has struggled at times in the World Series, but, I don't know.
Well, in the playoffs, but the World Series, that wasn't the case. And then the last playoffs,
yeah.
kind of took that monkey off his back, I think.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't want to just talk about Kershaw, though. Let's talk a little bit about the booed one, Baez. He is no longer booed.
Yeah. Well, that's when you pitch good, you don't get booed. I mean,
that's right.
That's tried and true.
The thing is, there were a lot of tweets saying don't boo your own players and things like that, and that's how Adele and I feel on Dodger Fan Weekly. I mean, we love our team win or lose,
Yeah, but you've never booed. Why you would never last in Philadelphia, for crying out loud. You pay
I know
it to-
I wouldn't.
You're allowed to boo. You know, there's only one player I would refuse to boo. Do you remember the guy? His name was something H-U, second base.
Oh,
Who?
yeah, you can't boo.
Yeah, and I used to go to the Dodger games and chant, "Don't boo who, don't boo who." No one would boo him anyway. I thought it was funny. I think you guys should pick up. Let's just say this real quick then. If you guys had to boo a player, would you boo an opposing player?
Oh, yes, I booed Braun. Yes.
Oh,
And Braun's easy to boo.
well, he is easy to boo.
So,
But I'm trying to think of, you just would never boo your own player. What if? Okay, how about this? It's the playoffs. Yeah, I'm going to get you here. It's the playoffs. It's a 7th game. There's a guy on second. There's 2 outs. Machado's up. There's a ground ball to short, and the shortstop kind of bobbles it. Machado, let's put it in the 3rd inning, because he's going to hustle in the 9th inning. He's in the 3rd inning. There's a guy on. It's a run that ends up mattering. But he hits a ground ball to short, a really good shortstop who never makes any errors, and he does not bust it to first base. He just kind of goes out to first base at his own leisure, and the shortstop drops the ball, and were he to bust it right out of the gate, he would have been safe. Do you boo Machado?
funny you should bring that up, right?
Do you boo Machado?
Quite possibly in that situation.
Yeah. We do mutter bad things under our breath when shit happens. But sorry.
You mutter? Are you mutterers? You're at a game?
Right off our back because we're back into the game in a moment.
We were at Game 7 of a World Series and we didn't boo you.
Oh, you could have booed you. Why me? Why would you boo me?
We didn't boo you. Why you?
You just said you
We didn't boo you.
you just said you booed me.
We did not boo you.
You said you booed you. You said you booed you. We booed you.
We didn't boo you. I said we didn't boo you.
But to open it up, you said we didn't boo you. Well, why would you boo me?
It's not you. It's you.
Tom, you do not like who's on first, and you're going to play this game right now?
I like. What do you mean I didn't like it? Mind your own business, you little bastard.
Anyway, so this is a future topic that Jill and I were just curious about.
Yeah.
There's kind of a lot of no strategizing when it comes to playing. It's either home run or strikeout for the most part. Do you think that's true? And is it affecting batting averages? It certainly seems like it's affecting the number of strikeouts that are in the league.
Well, yes, I would agree with all that. I mean, they're definitely here's the thing. You watch 10 years from now, this whole launch angle and
Exit velocity.
exit velocity and feast or famine and home run and strikeouts are okay. The game's going to evolve. I guarantee you the game has evolved like every 10 years for the history of the game. At the dead ball era, you had the era where everybody hit everything. You had the game's going to evolve. Players are going to make adjustments, and for now, this is how the game is played. Some guy with a supercomputer and a nice Harvard degree said it's better if players try to hit home runs. There's more productivity and not bunt and don't steal, and it's just better for trying to get that win. And it doesn't come. Are you muttering?
Sorry.
This
kind of baseball is so dull.
Yeah.
Also, this speaks to what you and Brian Robitaille were talking about earlier on the show, I think, in terms of how many lineups there have been, because the matchups are coming from the computer matchup, right?
Yes.
So you think
Yes.
that will change? And I know you talked about certain teams, but I know Boston's got more of a consistent lineup, like Hollywood said. How about the A's? they're doing well.
The A's are all about launch angle. They're like the original Moneyball 2, and it's still the case with Billy Bean. They're they're all about the type of game you don't like, which is and they're finding success with it with a dinky little payroll. So it's hard to argue that. My contention is you can get some success in a 162 game season with those sorts of approaches. But when you get to a series or a playoff series or a tough situation, man, sometimes those numbers just don't frickin' matter. They just don't. You got to go with something with your heart and your gut and what you believe in. And if you stick to those numbers, even though they say you better stick to the numbers or you don't get off your pattern, then you're not playing the type of baseball that wins championships. That's my gut feeling.
Well, Oakland hasn't won a championship
right
in quite a while, so maybe that speaks to that for sure.
Right. Well,
anyway, we wanted to check in, say hi to Hollywood, and anyone else who's
ladies,
watching. Listening. Hey.
Well, I shall do
Go
that.
Dodgers, for goodness sake.
Hey,
Dodgers.
well, I got you two here. You know what? I've been to games with both of you, and I can tell you they don't boo any of their own players, and they wouldn't know if anybody else did because they're so busy cheering their own players. Those two ladies are the truest fans. I sat next to them at games, and they are very true fans and extremely loyal to anybody with a Dodgers jersey on.
Yeah, they do. They cheer for the front of the uniform. They're pretty cold-hearted, though. If another guy comes out or a guy goes away, they don't give a crap. Do they think it's like?
They still want Starman Greinke, though.
Well, that's true. There are a few that you do like. I always say if there's one player of all of baseball that I could sit down and have dinner with, it would be Greinke. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Well, we would too. And let him pay. Let him pay.
All right. Now with that little saucy, unthoughtful comment, I'm going to let you go.
Bye, guys. Have a good show.
All right.
Bye, ladies.
All right. Line's open. Hey, Ron Cervenka, if you're out there, you can give me a ring now. I've been going on an hour here. Dodger fans, thanks for watching. A lot of you guys watch. Let's see. Where's my stuff here? On different platforms. Steam it, Twitch, Facebook Live, YouTube Live. I think this is on Facebook Live today. Choo Choo, what are we on today? Facebook Live now. We're going to YouTube Live. Well, when did you put it up on YouTube? All right, so YouTube will be on later. So the audience is growing. We kind of took some time off, but thousands of people watch this show over the course of different platforms and not necessarily in real time. We do every Sunday and some Wednesdays and Thursdays after each series. Atlanta Rizzo hates the Wave. I just want to say one thing to Atlanta Rizzo. God bless you, sister. God bless you. I know it's not easy to say things that fans don't want to hear. I know it, but you're out there, you're speaking it. You're speaking it and you're telling it. You're not just, muttering. You're out there talking about it. She's on Twitter, and she's basically saying, guys, I'm out here in left field with you. Please stop doing the Wave. It's 2-0 in a second in a pennant race. Basta. And I just want to say, there's a school of thought out there that says, kids want to do the Wave. They want to do the Wave. Let the kids do the Wave. And I'm like, okay, well, let's put teeter-totters out in center field, and let's have because God knows kids can't sit and watch a game for a couple hours and have the game be the focus. It's okay for you to want your kids to do the Wave, and the Wave's not going away. But when someone says they don't like it, get off their back. Let them have their point of view. Okay? There are pitchers out there who don't like the Wave going on while they're pitching. They're not going to say that. But there are pitchers out there, and they just might be on your team, and you don't know it. And when someone like Atlanta Rizzo comes out and says, guys, I'm out here in left field with you, please stop doing the Wave, she talks to players. I'm not saying that any player ever said this to her. I can't say that. But she also said the Wave the Wave when your pitcher is on the mound, and she got not very happy about it. So I just want to say this, Alana. I know it's hard in your position to say the hard things to fans and players because you definitely work for the team. But I just want to say thank you for speaking up for a lot of fans who don't care about the Wave. I wish there was some way to measure the fans who don't do the Wave and see them when the Wave's going around. And I once stopped the Wave twice, Hollywood. I wrote about it.
You did?
I wrote about it. It was in the New Yorker. It's going to be in the New Yorker as soon as I submit it and they accept it. I did.
Really?
I single-handedly stopped the Wave twice. I found that moment when the crowd was quiet. I saw the Wave out in right field and it was getting started, and I said, "Stop the Wave!" And everybody went, "What's he talking about?" They didn't see it going on. And so the right field started again, and I said, "We have to hold together. Stop the Wave." Have I done this before on the show, Hollywood?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to go through it again. I stopped the Wave twice. That should be enough.
Well, here's my thing. I don't understand what Alana's got a problem with. Every time she sees me, she waves at me. I mean, so what's her beef about here? I mean, literally, every single time she's just waving at me.
She's
she's the same thing.
Well, I know,
No, not really.
I know. You're like that idiot savant. We're talking about the Wave. You know where the one fan stands up and the next fan next to him stands up, and then the next fan and then they go all the way around. And all the fans do it over and over and over. You know that?
Oh, I thought you meant when she's standing over there, she's just waving at me. Hi.
Oh, my
Sometimes
God.
she just wiggles the fingers as a wave, like a hello wiggle. And,
Who's the
I
number?
thought that's what you meant. I'm sorry.
Who's the number
Yeah,
one? Who's the
okay.
number one first baseman in fantasy points right now?
I'm sorry. I was too busy amusing myself in my head to hear your question.
Who's the number one fantasy player in points right now at any position? If I could have any fantasy player at this point in the season, who would have got me the most points?
Carl Goldschmidt.
After his start?
Yeah, I know. How about that?
Are you kidding? You're serious?
Yeah, him, Javier Baez, or Matt Carpenter from St. Louis.
Yeah, he got hot too at a weird time. Anyway, what? Wow. Okay. What Dodger?
Hey,
What,
but I don't want to leave this Wave thing because I actually have a serious point about this for 1 second.
yeah.
You talk about how players, a pitcher might not want the Wave going on while he's pitching. Well, if you can look at a football analogy for a second, when a home team is on offense, what do they want the crowd to do?
Getting noisy.
They want the crowd to shut up.
Oh,
when
yeah,
they're on
yeah. I'm
offense
sorry.
So they can hear each other talk.
Correct.
So Peyton Manning was notorious. Every city Peyton Manning played in, shut up when he was on the field. And that way you could hear Omaha. I mean, how many times do we hear Omaha?
Yeah.
It's because Peyton Manning wanted the crowd to be quiet when he was pitching, so the offense could hear him. And then when the home team is on defense, you want them to be loud and disruptive to disrupt the other team. Well, if a pitcher doesn't want his fans, the pitcher wants his fans to be. Fans in baseball don't react the way the same fans in football do. I get it. There's 162 games of baseball, but that I don't know. I just think about the way football players ask their fans for things, and if baseball players are doing the same thing, baseball fans should respect that.
But I have to be honest. I've never heard a pitcher come out and say that. I just think that seems like something a pitcher would be afraid to say. And then, sure as hell, he goes on the road, and that knowledge gets out, and then the opposing team never stops doing the Wave while he's pitching. So maybe that's why. But that's a good point. That's a very good analogy, and I'm glad you made it. You got any other questions? Just real quick.
Not really about any of this stuff.
All right. This is stuff you won't hear on Dodger-owned Sportsnet LA Talk. You won't hear it, folks. The people that call in, the things we talk about, because they can't talk about it. They're employees, and if I were hired by them, I wouldn't talk about it either because I would want to keep my job. So let me see what else we got.
Do you like the way the current playoff system is set up right now?
What with the one wild card?
Yeah.
Hold on. Talking Blue Live.
Ron Cervenka here.
All right, let me turn you. Hold on a minute. Let me turn you down for a second. We were just talking about the playoff setup. Hollywood. Let's come back to that. All right.
Sure thing. Sure thing.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ron, I haven't talked to you in a while. How are you?
Oh, doing great. You know, we did a group trip up to Seattle, so we kind of missed that one, and then it's just been kind of running around doing a lot of different things, and finally got back to normal here with this series, and just left the clubhouse. It was kind of long because it's getaway day, and they have to pack all their gear, and it's a bit hectic in the clubhouse on getaway day, but we did get a chance to talk to Ryu, and we got a chance to talk, of course, with Doc. And then the highlight was talking to Justin Turner about his incredible day today.
Tell me about his incredible day today for anybody who doesn't know exactly what that was.
Well, you know what? I don't have the numbers right in front of me. Oh, actually, I think I do on my scorecard here. But I think he had 3 hits. Hang on, I can give it to you right.
He had 3 hits. That's a good start. Dude can
That's
hit.
a real good start. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, he had 2 doubles and a single. He hit the ball hard every time. He made contact every time. A couple of flyouts to center and all. So, and we asked him about we collectively the media. We all kind of had to wait around for a while there. So, but collectively we asked him about going into an off day this time versus going into an off day last time. And the last time they really needed it because they had gone 17 games in a row or some silly thing. And then so he says they have a much better frame of mind, and of course the sweep is just it changes the dynamics of your off day, makes it a little bit more enjoyable and all. But JT was the first one to say right up front, hey, listen, on any day, any team can beat any other team, and you know, you can't take, even though it's the Padres, you can't take that lightly because stuff happens. Look what happened. I mean, they let it off. It was 2-0 for a pretty good period of time there. They were leading this thing. So, and the Dodger bats were absolutely silent, and then we turned it around. But specifically with regards to Justin, they made an announcement in the press box during the game that his 5 RBIs today, it's the 5th time in his career that he's done it, and that is his career high. So he matched his career high in RBIs again today. He's done it 5 times. So
3 hits
you
and
could just tell he's dialed in. You just see it in him, the confidence that he has. He's a guy you want in that high leverage situation, and he actually loves being in that situation.
Now, where did he bat in the order? I'm only asking this for anybody who may not have caught the game today. People watched this show for several days afterwards. Where did he bat? Where did he?
Question, because one of the writers asked him about that. He's batting number 2. He's batting behind today. He batted number 2. He's behind Brian Dozier, but more importantly, he's in front of Machado, and he thinks that or at least what the reporter asked the question. Asked him about, do you think you're seeing better pitches? And JT's answer was, if you look at this lineup from top to bottom, it really doesn't matter. You got guys who can hit, even deep. You got Puig batting, he was batting 6 today. So I mean, you got guys who can do some damage from top to bottom. Even Ryu, that was. I mentioned that we had the interview with Ryu, and of course that always takes twice as long because we got to go through an interpreter, but. He takes his hitting very, very seriously, and if you saw the game and your listeners saw the game today, he had some really good at bats. Not just up there, not just luck hits. He really put together some real good at bats. I believe with his first single in the 3rd inning, I think he fouled off like 5 or 6 pitches. So I mean, he got a good look at what was coming. And somebody tweeted out, I believe it was the Dodger Insider site, that. Just kind of knew that was going to happen, and I absolutely did. I watched that at bat, and I said, you know what, he's going to square one up here, and he did. And it didn't hit for power, whatever. He got two base hits. So he singled the right, and singled the center. So how can you argue that when you get that out of your pitcher? And even JT said that turns the lineup over. It helps. It just keeps the line moving. You know, it's not an automatic out. They collectively, the pitchers take it very serious.
And you know what the greatest beauty of Ryu's 2 hits are, really? The greatest beauty of when a pitcher does that is the other pitcher gets rattled. He hates it. You really want to get a guy off his game when he gives up. When he gives up, any pitcher gives up a hit to another pitcher, it throws him. And so, the effect that has, and he gets up there playing pepper too. Ryu he doesn't put a big swing on it. He just kind of tries to get his barrel and bat on the ball. And it paid off today. There were 2 outs. Dodgers weren't doing real well. He gets that little scratch single, and then boom, 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 home run, walk, blah, blah, blah. That pitcher went to pieces. He went to pieces. He couldn't.
They sent 10 men to the plate that inning, and he was the second one, and he came up with 1 out. He came up with a strikeout.
No, he came up with 2 out. He came up. There was a pop up too. Puig had popped up before that.
Yes.
That was a 2-out rally, and the reason it was a 2-out rally and that pitcher couldn't get anybody else out is because that little dink hit from the pitcher rattled him, and that's a that's a big deal in a game. That, fans can look at a game, and not most fans are going to look at that sort of a thing and think, "Wow, that's a real pivotal point," but it was.
But Doc made a comment on that too. And again, anytime you have a pitcher that get 2 hits, there's a lot of joking and kidding around, but on a serious note, and Robert said it, he says that, and you touched on it as well, that the other pitcher, the opposing pitcher, pretty much the entire 9 out there that you're facing when you're at bat, or 8+1, they think you're an automatic out. And Doc said it's not when you're not an automatic out, even if you make out by flying out, popping out, grounder, whatever, at least you're not an automatic out. The pitchers that's gone in 3 pitches, that's an automatic out, and we all know who they are. We've seen them.
Oh yeah, over time.
Pitchers just get up there and they just kind of plant the bat,
You made me think of something when you were talking about Turner batting second, and Machado being behind him. And I get, that there's protection up and down the lineup because this is a completely solid lineup. But there's something about Machado, man. There's something about that dude. I don't like that he doesn't run the ball out, and that's a whole nother story. But there's something about when he's in the plate swinging the bat. I've seen players. You wouldn't need to know a freaking statistic to look at the way he swings the bat and the way he handles himself in the batter's box. You wouldn't need to know one single statistic. That's a true eyeball player right there. You can just look at. And he's an amazing hitter. And I just want to say real quick that this is what has really Turner's being gracious to his other teammates, but I guarantee you he's seeing better pitches because Machado's hitting behind him. Guarantee.
Oh, and he didn't come right out and say that, but that was the emphasis of the reporter Jim Alexander from Inland Empire. He asked that question. Do you think you're seeing better pitches as a result of Machado there? And although Turner didn't come out yes or no, he just that's when he kind of diverted to everybody in our lineup is that
being gracious.
The thing with Machado, growing up, my father, pretty much my entire baseball foundation. I'm grateful for my father sharing it at such a young age for me the information, and the word he used was a bad ball hitter, and I don't mean swinging at balls that are ridiculously out of the strike zone, although I wouldn't be surprised that he could zap one down the right field line if it was that far out, but if it's a high pitch, pretty much designed to get you to chase or at least pop up or whatever, he can put a barrel on it. He's got, I think it's his hands. He's got extremely fast hands.
Yeah.
And he hit a foul ball early in the game, a long drive foul ball, and it was foul by a considerable distance, but it went 3/4 of the way up the field level past the pole. It was crushed, and he just got around on it a little early. I think it was a little bit of a curveball breaking ball.
Hey, Ron.
You're right though. He can hit. He can put that ball in play.
Yeah, no,
he's not going to strike out a lot.
I don't need to see a statistic. When I see a player like that, I'm like, put your statistics away, man. I can just tell this guy's a great player. Let me ask you something real quick. All right?
Yep.
I'm curious because you seem to keep a bright outlook of things, and I really appreciate that because I can get a little dark sometimes. But let me just kind of give you a couple yes or no questions first. Does it frustrate you when Machado does not run bust out of the box to first base?
You know what? It was a pop-up. I know the play you're talking about.
There have been several of them. I've been to games. I watch them. They don't always put it on TV. It happens a lot.
But today it was a pop-up, and it was a no-doubter. He's going to be out. But yes, it does bother me.
Okay.
Can I, especially for a guy who's looking to lock down a $300 million contract this offseason.
Can I play devil's advocate for a minute, and then I'll probably end up agreeing with you when we're done with the conversation. He's apparently I've talked to Oriole fans and stuff asking about him, and some ex-players, and he doesn't have good knees. His knees apparently have both been blown out. I did not know this.
I didn't know that.
I didn't. No, I'm not, and I can't say that this is a fact. I'm just saying it's what someone told me. So let's just say it's probably partially true. Hollywood, maybe you can look to see if Machado's had any knee injuries. But so if he picks a spot where he knows that he's going to get thrown out and he doesn't, and he's protecting his knees, a player like that, okay, I don't need him to bust it out to first base every time if he's being conscious about it. But here's the thing: if we're at Game 7 in the playoffs and it's the fourth inning and it doesn't seem like busting it out of the box really matters at that point in the game, and a guy drops a ball, and if he would have hustled it out just in that one play, an innocuous play, it would have made a difference in the game. I'm going to be upset. And if he is going to choose when and when not to hustle, he's got to be 100% right.
Well, I think that he has been. I don't recall him, and maybe you know better since you're keyed on it, where if he had hustled, he would have made it.
No.
He's stealing bases, so it's not like he's not fast.
Well, then maybe
that's kind of interesting. And the other thing, I don't know, you and I in Hollywood spoke about this in depth several weeks ago, is that Doc won't tolerate this. He's benched Puig, he's benched Bellinger for not hustling. So now whether Machado gets a free pass or not, I just can't think. I don't think that's the case. So.
Well, I promise you.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is an injury. Maybe who knows?
Well, I promise you.
I don't know.
I promise you, I am not making up the fact that I have watched. I've been to several games in this last series. I watched him. They don't put it always on TV, but a ground ball to short, especially, he does not hustle out of the box in any way, and it happens a lot. I mean, it happens almost every time, and so it's not something that I'm making up. It's real. You can see it. So my question is to Dodger fans, and I just praised the guy. I think he's an incredible hitter. Can you imagine him and Seager and Turner in the same lineup?
I do. I do. I dream about that.
Whoa.
Exactly who's where. I got. If that's the case, I'm probably going to put Corey at second base. I love Corey as a shortstop. He's got that's his true position. But Dozier told me something when I interviewed him about a week and a half ago. He hasn't played with Seager, so he doesn't know that aspect of it. But in Dozier's own words, he said my question was about how he does that glove flip thing, and if it's instinct or if it's something he practices and whatnot. That was my question. He says it really helps when you have the best shortstop in the game on the other side. So
he said that about Machado?
And going back to our little fantasy infield, does that mean then that Seager is at second base?
Well, I suppose that does, doesn't it? I mean, I can't think of another.
Well, then what do you do with Dozier? I suspect the Dodgers are going to keep one, not both, or re-sign one, not both. But if I'm guaranteed 100% that Corey Seager will be available on opening day or ready on opening day 19, I'm going to say thank you for your service and may
Well, then let me ask you this question. You're going to be a front office guy. We're going to hire you, Ron, to be in the front office. I'm going to be Mark Walter. I own the Dodgers, basically, or I at least control them. And so, Mr. Ron Cervenka, man, welcome on. You gonna play this game with me, where you're gonna be in my front office?
Yeah, but I'll probably quit before you get too far. So.
All right, well then you can quit whenever you want, because that's the type of show we have. So, we don't have enough money, Ron, to do both Kershaw and Machado. How do you feel, and which one should we kind of go after?
Well, I kind of tipped my hat already by saying that or my hand already by saying that I would prefer Dozier over Machado going forward because I know Seager's coming back. So that's what I look at, being in my new comfortable
suit,
leather chair,
and that's a nice suit.
I'm looking at ages right now.
Okay.
I'm looking at best years ahead of you versus best years behind you, and Machado's 26. Kershaw's going to be 31 next season. His best years are behind him. He's still an ace. He's still a top. He's the guy who went on the mound in Game 7. But I don't know. It's very difficult to let Kershaw go.
Yes, it is.
It's very difficult. But by the same token, you got to look ahead. It depends on how many years, and I suspect, I think I've even mentioned this to you in Hollywood in the past, but I think it's going to be like the Greinke deal, where it's more about years than it is about the actual dollar amount.
Yeah, I agree.
And if Kershaw wants 5 or more, thank you for your services, Clayton. I appreciate what you've done for this team and all these trophies we've got here because of you, and enjoy your Hall of Fame induction. But I do not want a Kershaw that's 37, 38 years old, because the writing's on the wall. The injuries are going to be there. And all
yeah.
that.
And the arc of the career is taking shape.
By the same token, a 26-year-old Machado, and guess what he's going to be looking for? He's going to be looking for.
Well, there you go.
7.
That's right. Now
But you have, let's say it's 6 years. Okay, now that's going to take him to age 32. He's still he's at the top end of his career. He's probably either at or just slightly past his prime, and on the decline after age 32, or at age 32. Not that he still can't play the game well. I mean, look what A-Rod did, and look what Jeter did. These guys played until in the late 30s and still did it. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's a tough call. That's a tough question. I suspect it'll boil down to how many years Kershaw wants. I think it's going to boil down to that more than money.
Do you think Kershaw would rather, all things being equal, do you think he'd rather be a Dodger or go pitch in his hometown in Houston, which is a very good team?
See, he's not from Houston. He's from Dallas.
Well, yeah, you're right. Texas, I should say.
And I think his geographical attachment would be Texas Rangers. Arlington, I think, is very close to Dallas.
It is. Fort Worth, Arlington.
And people just naturally assume, I hear it all the time, well, because my argument, for lack of a better term, I don't like arguing over this, but my argument is that there's not very many teams out there that are going to be able to afford what Clayton Kershaw will command if he doesn't accept the remaining years on the Dodgers. So people always say, no, he wants to go to Texas. He wants that. Texas can't afford that kind of money.
No, not right now. I mean, basically his contract works out. He gets about $10,000 a pitch. I don't know.
Man, I didn't do that math, but that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I'm just counting in-game pitches, not warm-ups and preseason. But he gets about $10,000 a pitch, and I don't know who can. You're right. I don't know. There's just that limits the market of potential people who can even pay him. So.
I think you're talking 2 or 3 teams, if the max.
Yeah.
I mean, I just.
He's so good, though. He's so good. He's worth it. I mean, he's been worth. I think baseball players are way overpaid and blah blah blah. And I don't want to have that argument, but that dude Kershaw is worth it. He's been worth it. He's as a fan. He's at least the money that I spent, going to games, or my family spent going to games. Kershaw has been worth every plug nickel. He's given me so much pleasure watching him pitch because I like a 1-0 game myself. I don't need a lot of scoring and the wave and beach balls to be happy. I like a good 1-0 pitching game, and that dude has delivered. And I'm just I don't want to see him go. But like you say, there's things to consider, in terms of age and arc of career, and So
if he would decline the opt out and just ride out, I believe it's 2 years, and maybe Hollywood can help me out here, remaining after this year, and I think it's 19 and 20.
So he's got 2 more years after. Yeah, right. He's got $35 million basically each year.
Okay, that's what I thought it was. If Kershaw does not seem like a greedy person, whereas Zach Greinke, I suspect was more about the money.
Well, he came out and said it. He said, "Give me $1 more."
Happiness and family and whatnot. So I don't doubt. You know what? I wasn't eavesdropping, but I happened to overhear Kershaw today speaking on his cell phone with somebody. He was in the dugout. I was in the dugout waiting for Doc to come out, and he made a comment about it'll be nice to come home because they're going to Texas. So he's apparently he's either going to go to his physical home or he's going to a friend's. Again, I'm not eavesdropping. I just happen to hear, it'll be great to be home for a few days. So that's all I heard. I don't make it my business to pry to other people.
No, I don't think that's any earth-shattering news. I'm sure.
But agree. But that shows that friends and family mean so much more to him than and I hate to keep throwing Greinke under the bus, but I always thought Greinke was in it for himself. That was all about the money and all about me type thing. So I don't see that in Kershaw. So I guess I just wouldn't be surprised to see Kershaw say, "Yeah, $35 million for the next 2 years. That's a pretty good deal, and let me earn an extension beyond that." And it's total speculation, total wishful thinking, even on my part. Will it happen? Who knows? Nobody knows. Somebody tweeted out last week, he wants to stay a Dodger. I read somewhere he wants to stay a Dodger. I heard somewhere, and my response was, well, then you got better sources than all of us, because he has never said that.
No.
Never said I am not going to opt out.
Kershaw's a little bit like God to me, and not at all, but in one way. I talk to Kershaw, but he doesn't talk back to me. But I talk to Kershaw all the time.
Well, for what it's worth,
he never talks back.
When he got done with his phone call and he started to go out onto the field, he looked directly at me and he said, "Hey, how's it going?"
Oh, see? There you go. You're talking to the man. You're talking to the man.
So God answered. So I was.
I don't want to be blasphemous because he's not God, or however you want to look at it. But I
get your connection.
We're having fun. Yeah.
It's I'm a pretty old dude, and when things like that happen, and it's happened a time or two with different individuals, primarily baseball players, throughout my life, and certainly in my media stuff here. I'm like a little schoolgirl. I get a little giddy. It's like, I think I told you at spring training I had a question for Oral Hershiser one day, and I said, "Hey, Oral, can I ask you a quick question?" He goes, "I got to go. Get in the cart with me." So we're running down Camelback Ranch, the gravel road there. He has to go from point A to point B, and I'm in the cart with him, and I'm asking him this question, and somebody snapped a picture, one of my Twitter followers, and sent it to me, and
nice.
I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that picture, but I was almost embarrassed. It's like, who am I? So.
Well, come on. I mean, I'm not. I always give professional players their due, but I also have known a couple famous player people, and they're human beings, and I don't put them on pedestals. But I get it. I get it. Ron Santo for me when I was a kid, or Wes Parker for me when I was a kid. Who as an adult would throw me now? I don't know. Because I don't know. I just don't.
I think you kind of grow out of it. And here's the other thing. I mentioned you. I'm kind of old.
Yeah, you are.
Let me. Well, thank you. I'm more than twice as old as Kershaw. So there's that. Okay. So,
yeah.
I certainly respect everything that he has done, and what you said about him is so true. And he's a Hall of Famer. He's going to Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Here's another panic mode. Let me give you this horrible thought. Suppose, let's use the Texas Rangers only because of the Texas connection thing, but suppose the Texas Rangers do just charm him into signing this massive contract and all that, and he goes and he has 2 or 3 really good years on his 6-year, $300+ million contract, or probably more than that, if it's $35 million a year. And then it's time to go into the Hall of Fame. What hat does he wear?
Well, come on, he's gonna.
Oh,
there's no question. There's no question unless he. If
you know what I'm saying?
The only way.
You see the anxiety that this can create.
Yeah, the only way that man does not. I could create a scenario because I do that for a living. I create scenarios and make up stories. But this dude, the only I could, if Clayton Kershaw went to Texas and started doing steroids and had a renaissance, Roger Clemens type of renaissance to his career, where he pitched to where he was nearly 40, and he won more games with Texas than he did the Dodgers, he might go in with a Texas hat. But none of that is happening. So yes, he will have a Dodger hat on when he goes to the Hall of Fame.
Okay, I want you to just keep reminding me of that.
Yes, don't even question. I mean,
I'm going to question
what it would take.
If he resigns, or if he does not opt out and he remains with the Dodgers, then I would certainly feel a whole heck of a lot more comfortable.
Well, no question in my mind, pal. And you're not that old. And the last place that society can be a bigot is towards old white bald men. And so you really must catch
left
hell.
Fat out, dude.
Huh?
You left fat out. I'm offended.
You're not.
All the old, bald, white, and you left fat out. So I'm on my way to In-N-Out right now just because of that.
I'm right behind you. I might be older. I don't think I'm older than you, actually. But I'm pretty.
We'll just leave that up in the air.
Well, let me ask you: when you talk to Kershaw and you remind him that you're older, do you tell him that he needs to respect his elders, and that's a very important lesson in life, and he should be respecting you?
Nope. That's one of those things you don't tell someone.
I do. I tell them all. I remind everybody I see that's younger than me.
The people who, they just know it. They just do it. And I'm going to throw a name at you, and it's not going to surprise you. Rich Hill, he's pushing whatever. He's in his late 30s.
He's 73 years old.
But Rich Hill will go out of his way to be respectful to you. It's what you see with Rich Hill is what you get. He's a real deal.
It runs in the family, Ron, because I sit up with the family members, and he's got his brother that kind of sits in the front. I always call it pole position seat. Whoever starts the starting pitcher gets to sit in that seat.
I like that.
And I've kind of just, hey, how are you? And, I don't stick my neck out there a whole lot. I want to respect the people's privacy. Friendly guy, genuine guy. Doesn't take two minutes to see that he's real. So they got mom and dad to thank for that. Yeah.
That's it warms my heart to hear that.
Yeah, they got mom and dad to thank. I'm not going to give them any credit. If you're a good person, you better just thank your parents. If you're a good-looking person, you had nothing to do with it. Thank your parents. So.
Yeah, well, I'm out of
That's
that.
okay. It's okay. It's okay. We don't need to get into that. I understand.
But anyway, so as far as a respect your elders kind of thing, you nailed it. That's how you're brought up. You either do it or you don't. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter.
And it happens in a baseball. It's on a microcosm. It happens. Veteran players get respect. I mean, unless you're just an elder who's a blankhead, or you're just a jerk, then that obviously that throws everything off center. But
Well, I've come across those.
yeah,
I've
so
come across those who are 23 years old as well.
yes.
So,
But generally speaking, if you're a veteran player, you're going to get a little more respect for what you've, for just your longevity. And I want respect for my longevity because that's all I got. I only got longevity at this point in my life. I don't have money. I don't have,
the older we get, the shorter the long is. Shortgevity.
Yes.
Shortening it. So anyway.
All right. Well, listen. I've been going. This has been an hour and 35-minute talk. Talkin Blue Live. It's been a really good one. I've had some of my favorite callers call in.
Outstanding.
So life is good, man. Life's good on my end. How about you?
It's good. I was blessed, as you know. I went up to the Seattle series, and in addition to there was a group of 20 of us. I kind of spearheaded it and bought a block of tickets and made the arrangements.
And I did get an invite, by the way. Thank you.
But part of among the 20 was my son, who's 24 years old, and his girlfriend, and my daughter, who's 33 years old, and her boyfriend. They flew out from New York, so I got to spend time with my son and my daughter. And speaking of being long in the tooth and longevity and whatnot, that means a lot to an old guy, to an old father. For those fathers out there know, the relationship with your kids is it's impossible to describe.
Now, are they big? That I'm going to always tie this back to baseball and the Dodgers or whatever. Are they big baseball fans?
Oh, they're my kids.
Yeah, I know. It's probably.
No, come on.
I'm just checking.
They've been going to games. Their first memories. I mean, and not only are they baseball fans, they're diehard Dodger fans. My son, he goes to school at Cal State to UC Long Beach. Or Cal State Long Beach. I'm sorry. And so he's still in the area here. But my daughter, she moved to New York back in 2010. When I go back there, we go to the Mets games, the Dodgers Mets games, and she's wearing her Dodger blue. She's a Dodger fan, just through and through, as is my son. So yes, they are both very much.
And isn't baseball?
Check this out. You're gonna love this. My daughter's boyfriend, when we were back in New York back in June, when the Dodgers that was the Mets series was it encompassed my trip just purely by coincidence. Her boyfriend went to one of the games with us. He's kind of a Wall Street kind of guy, kind of busy, real busy. But he went to a game, and he's her age. He's in his early 30s. He had never been to a major league baseball.
Cool.
And that blew me away. That really blew me away. How could you go through life? And I'm not trying to judge and be judgmental of him, but the passion that you and I in Hollywood and your listeners out there, everybody we have for this game, it's inconceivable. It's inconceivable. And there she is explaining to him that particular series. If you recall, there were grand slams on consecutive nights. She's explained to him what a grand slam is. Initially he thought is that a ball that just goes farther than all the other ones or whatever. So she's explaining the game to him, and I crossed my folding arms. I kind of cocked my head back and I just watched, and I'm just smiling from ear to ear, grinning. That's my girl. That's my baby. She got it. She knows. What do you do when it counts 0-2 in your pitcher? You waste one. I mean, there's just little things about the game that she always remembered, and now as she's an adult, she starts connecting the dots. Hey, that's what he meant.
I love teaching people, going to games with people who don't know baseball. I love, I'm not one of those people that tries to go and then and tries to explain everything. I kind of let them because I can't stand when people got to explain everything and the person watching gets inundated and they don't enjoy the game. I let them say, "What was that?" And one time I went to a game with this British guy. He was a cricket player, and he was a real good cricket player. And the pitcher got in the stretch. The pitcher got in the stretch, and the batter. There was a run on first, and he went to pick off the runner on first, and the British guy said, "Oh, what was that? That was cheeky. That was so cheeky." I don't know what a cricket pitcher does, but that act of picking off a runner, trying to pick off a runner at first, just threw him, you know. And then we had a great conversation about what that meant and then we talked about cricket a little bit. But baseball is one, you know. They say that super glue is really good, but baseball is the greatest bonding agent.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
That's mine, by the way.
I mean,
quote at me if you
in
want.
the middle of our game, in the middle of today's game, they post on the video board the Hawaiian team winning the Little League World Series. If that's not bonding, there were I got it written down here. There were 43,000. This is what they said. 43,252 people today at Dodger Stadium. That was the paid attendance, quote unquote.
Thank you.
But you got 43,000 people there in the middle of a game. Granted, it became a blowout, but for a while there it was a little kind of tense. But all of a sudden, everybody's heart just opens up to these kids that just won the World Series. You know, it's just like, wow. If that's not bonding, I can't think of what else is.
Well, it's cool that especially, you know, for what's all going on down there. Hey, listen, man, I've been going for an hour and 41 minutes, and I'm gonna go eat.
Me too.
So yeah, I know where you're going. I know
where I'm going.
I know.
I have to go because I kind of tweeted out that because Turner got 2 doubles today, I have to go get a double.
Exactly, and he's gonna go to In-N-Out Burger. All right, Ron, talk to you later, bud. Talk soon.
All right, Hollywood didn't get a chance to talk a whole lot with you, but I know you're there, and I appreciate all you do, and we'll talk to you guys later, huh?
All righty.
We'll talk next time.
Yeah. Ron's going to go to In-N-Out Burger. In-N-Out Burger Foundation does a lot for providing help for children, and you know, you don't see their logo and their brand out there a lot because they do it quietly, and they you know, they are a true charity organization. If you're not able to see the Dodgers, you know, they're going to go out of town, head on out to Auto Club Raceway at Pomona because it's noisy and it's fun and kids like it, and you know, you can do the wave out there and no one will hear it and care because they don't care. I want to thank the girls at Dodger Fan Weekly for, first of all, for calling in, and second of all, for kind of building this audience and kind of giving me a home. You guys have given me a home. I wouldn't have a home without these girls. So, Hollywood, anything cross your mind before we wrap this up?
No, we're good. Manny Machado, he has had 2 knee surgeries.
He has?
2013 and then again in 2014.
Well, let me ask you just real quick, because I am curious. I mean, part of me says, hey, if a guy's got bad knees, I've played injured. I mean, I can't, but when I was younger, but I was still going to be the best player if I was out there, and I knew that there were certain things, especially when I caught, that I couldn't do. For a while, I couldn't throw down to second, and nobody really knew. But so, you know, how do you feel about that? And you know, about the whole Machado's not hustling down to first base all the time.
Well, both of his injuries are just freak injuries, and one of them came from a non-play at first, where he didn't have to go down there, and he ran down there and kind of slipped on the bag. I prefer players to hustle, but I'm not going to be on a high horse about it here. If it's a ground ball, hustle. In the air, I guess I can understand it.
Yeah, I can too sometimes. But you know, my only thing is you better be 100% right, or at least know when the game. There's times in the game and certain games where you just gotta hurt yourself to try to get there. All right, buddy, I'm gonna wrap it up.
Yes, sir.
Dodger fans, September baseball is coming up. It is the best brand of baseball that you can enjoy. Things get tight, races get. This is what they played for. Is September. I mean, they play for October, but September is really the entree or the appetizer, the true appetizer to the entree that comes up in postseason. So check out the show. Whenever you want to call in, don't call in now if you're seeing the show this late, because I'm turning it off. I just want to say, I don't have a great, sayonara sort of thing to say, so I just keep it real simple, and I say, go Dodgers.